Welcome back to Channel 7. My name is Ivana. If you're new here, welcome. Today I'm going to be talking about the books that I read in the month of June. I have to say June was honestly, it was a really good reading month. I feel like every month since like March I've been saying this, but they just keep getting better and better, which is really nice because I feel like I haven't had like this good reading in such a long time. Like I'm reading books that I genuinely love, characters I genuinely want to be friends with, and stories that are just throwing me for a loop. And that's what I pay to do, you know? Like I want to read good books, not just books. So I'm very excited to talk to you about what I've read this month. Let's get into the books that I read this month. The first book that I read by Morgan Matson, it's called Second Chance Summer, and this is a contemporary romance. I'll be honest, I didn't actually read this, like I did read it for the romance, but I ended up loving it for a different reason, and we'll get to that in a second. This book follows Taylor Edwards. She's our main character, and every year her family returns to their lake house. That's where they spend their summers, and it's kind of a tradition. But 5 years ago, something kind of happened, and Taylor vowed never to return if she could help it. But when her father is diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer, he wants to spend his last summer at the lake house. So Taylor is not only dealing with her father and his health condition, but she's also dealing with the aftermath of what she left behind. I read this for the romance, but I loved it for completely different reasons. I wasn't really enthralled by the relationship that Taylor had. I thought it was sweet, but it was nothing insane. But the relationship in her family between her siblings and her parents, that is what sold me on this story. It was incredibly challenging to read this, especially as the book started to come to an end. Watching this family grieve as her father is still alive, and then as he passes, it was very difficult for me. And I think for anyone who reads this, you will definitely feel the sense of loss of this family, and I thought that was just so well done. So I gave this 4 stars for the family dynamic. If it was just the romance, it would have been like a 3-star. It was mid, but like the family dynamic, incredible. The next book that I read is something that I'm really excited to talk about because one of my mutuals on TikTok actually wrote this book. Her name is Chloe L. Sage, and you should follow her if you have TikTok and you are interested in like books or just like aesthetic things, because she definitely has that going for her. For a debut novel, I was like, this is it. This is the one. It's called The Heart of a Villain, and I think I actually posted a bit of this on like one of my stories, and people were DMing me like, what is the name of this book? Which was definitely what I was going for because I really want other people to support her and read this. But this follows Eris, and she is the princess of the vampire realm. And when Eris's father is killed, she is thrust into a position of power where she has to go through her coronation to become a vampire, because everyone in this world is born human and then made vampire at like a certain age, unless they're forced into their vampirism early, I guess you could say. But yeah, when she goes through the coronation, there are a bit of complications, I should say. Things get really rocky, but also there is a bit of a love triangle kind of situation. It's not a bad love triangle. I know a lot of people hate the love triangle trope, but this one is also is honestly really well done. I feel like if you like that kind of close relationship, you've known me forever, friends to lovers, but then also enemies to lovers kind of love triangle, you will really love this book. And also it'll get you excited for the books to come. 4 stars. You have to read it, please, please. The next books that I read, it was about time because everyone has talked about these and I feel like everyone has read them. I was a little late to the party, but it's okay. It's okay because I finally did. And I have to say, I'm completely and honestly just astonished by what I read. I was not expecting this at all from the Folk of Air trilogy by Holly Black. I did not go into this book knowing what it was about. Everyone talks about it. Nobody talks about the actual premise of the story, which I personally actually like. That I was surprised when I opened like the first 10 pages and was like, fairy? Like what? The writing in this book is incredibly whimsical. It's so delicate, so beautiful, and it feels very otherworldly, which I think just does so many favors for the actual story. I feel like the way that you write your narrative can really influence the characters, the movements, and you as a reader, your emotions. So I really, really love the writing of these books. We have a main character. Her name is Jude. She has two sisters. Vivi is the oldest, or Vivian, and Taryn is her twin. And when they were kids, a man showed up at their front door, slaughtered their parents, and then took them away to Elfhame because Vivian, the oldest, was his daughter, like biological daughter. And then he took the other two because those are her sisters. So he was not just gonna leave the kids there, basically. Jude, Taryn, and Vivi basically are raised in this new world called Elfhame. And even though the two twins, like the twins are human beings, like they're humans, so they're treated as lesser than, they start to kind of acclimatize, or like they know how to survive in Elfhame. Yeah, that's all I'm gonna say, because I didn't even know that much when I started this book, but the politics, the characters, the plot, juicy. So I gave the first book, wait, hold up. I think I gave this entire series 5 stars. The next book that I read, I honestly can scarcely remember it. It's a poetry collection, and I think for the time being, I'm done with poetry collections because I haven't read a good one in a long time. Not that this wasn't good, it just didn't do anything for me. Didn't move me, it didn't cause any stir of emotions. Like it was supposed to do that, right? And that is I Love You, Call Me Back by Sabrina Benaim. And I honestly can't really tell you what this was about. I know it dealt with like difficult topics, but like what poetry collection doesn't at this point? Moving on to the next. I read another trilogy, but this is actually one that I've read before, so you've probably heard me talk about it if you've watched like all my book videos, but that's The Summer I Turned Pretty by Jenny Han. And I read these because of the TV series that came out on Amazon Prime, and I wanted to like refresh my memory. I will say I wish I didn't do that because the TV series doesn't actually follow the chronological order of the first book, and they also added stuff that wasn't here. That's a thing. But yeah, I was reading these and I was remembering all the reasons why I love this series so much. It's very nostalgic for me. I feel like incredibly emotionally connected to these books. I don't really know why, but like I do. So if you don't know about this yet, so the main character's name is Belly, and her mom and her brother come down to this lake house or this beach house every summer, and they meet up with her mom's best friend, Susanna, and her 2 sons, Conrad and Jeremiah. So we have Laurel, who's Belly's mom, Susanna, who is the boy's mom, and then they come together, they live in this beach house, and they kind of just spend the summer together. They've been doing this since they were kids, and their moms have been doing this since they were kids. So this is an incredibly like nostalgic place full of memory. Belly has had a crush on Conrad, the older son, since she was really young. That's kind of where most of the plot is. Like Belly and her relationship, or like her feelings for Conrad, and like his lack of admittance for his potential feelings for her. There's also other stuff going on in the background, but like you aren't supposed to know about it, so I can't really tell you about it. But it is very difficult to read through like the end of this book, and then also like the next 2 books. They really hit me like again, it made me very emotional. But I really love the family dynamic. I love the relationships, and like I like watching Belly's character kind of mature, because she is incredibly immature in like the first book and a half. But she gets better, and you know what? I like the way it ended. And this might also be a fully 5-star trilogy, so yeah. Oh, I filmed a 73-hour like reading vlog. Well, it wasn't really 73 hours. I was supposed to read my screen time and I failed, so I did not read 73 hours. I read like 30 something. But in that video, I read Genuine Fraud by E. Lockhart. This cover is incredibly beautiful. That shade of blue, the kind of obscured image, delightful. This book is about a girl named Jewel, and she is impersonating her best friend, who has kind of disappeared. We don't know what's happened to her best friend. We don't really know anything. And the more you read, the less you know. At least for me. This book is written in reverse. So we start off in like chapter 18, and then you read all the way down to chapter 1, which literally is like a mind game. And then the last chapter is chapter 19. So everything comes together. I think the concept was very cool, very unique. The execution, maybe it's just me, maybe my brain just was not made for this kind of mind game, but I just found it really confusing. I wasn't really sure what to believe. Even when the book finished, I was like, wait, who is who? Like, I'm still not really sure. I had to Google it. And like, if I have to Google what happened in a book, I just assume that it wasn't explained very well. I think I gave it 3 stars, but it's not for me. So the next book that I read in that video was Bright Burning Stars. I have explained this, but I will talk about it again. So the 2 main characters, the 2 POVs that we hear from are Marine and Kate. They're best friends, and they've been attending this ballet academy in Paris since they were children. And they've made it to level 1, which means that they're basically like the top dancers in the academy, and that they have the potential to dance for the company. But their spots are limited to like 1 girl and 1 guy, so very competitive. And at some point in this book, the girls realize that they are each other's competition. I feel like Marine's character is a lot sweeter and more caring than Kate. Kate is very cutthroat, she's bloodthirsty, and she's willing to do anything to get to the top. I didn't really like Kate for that reason, because that meant she was not a loyal friend, and I admire ambition, but I do not admire that kind of ambition. Yeah, I did not like Kate at all, but I loved Marine. I loved her character. I love the reason that she dances. I thought it was beautiful, and I like the path that she chose for herself. I gave this 4 stars because I enjoyed it very much, and I love ballet. I love ballet books. I love ballet as a art form, sport, and just in general. So, next book that I read was another Holly Black. This is actually part of The Folk of Air, and it's one of the novellas. It is How the King of Elfhame Learned to Hate Stories. First of all, the artwork in this is absolutely stunning. We get lots of Cardan in this, and like, I'm here for it. I gave this 4 stars, and I really enjoyed it. Okay, the next books that I read are also part of a little duology, and that is Little White Lies and Deadly Little Scandals, and they're both by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. Some of my favorite books that I've read this year are these 2 books right here. They remind me of Pretty Little Liars, but like more of like the Spencer world, the Hastings universe. If that was made into a little book, it could be this. So our main character, Sawyer, her mother gave birth to her when she was a teenager, and she like fled her high society life and moved to this small town and raised Sawyer there. When Sawyer's 17, her grandmother shows up and offers her $500,000 for her to participate in the upcoming debutante season, and she promises her that she'll be able to figure out who her actual biological father is, which Sawyer is very interested in knowing. So she obviously takes the opportunity and moves in with her grandmother and her cousins and aunts, and becomes part of that like high society lifestyle. And she finds out more than just who her father is. This society is riddled with skeletons in people's closets, scandals, secrets, you name it. I was absolutely enthralled by this story. It was very, very immersive, very fun and exciting. It was very sweet as well, like just the family relationships, the sense of loyalty, the fierce love that these characters had for each other. Exceptionally done, beautifully written, and definitely up my alley. I gave them both 4.5 stars ratings. So yeah, those are the last books that I read in the month of June. So I hope you enjoyed this video and found a book or 2 that you want to read. And yeah, we'll chat later.